while Black Wall Street was self-sustaining, it was literally only 2 blocks away from the white neighborhoods, which only added to the tension. And on May 30th, 1921, the tension would begin to reach a boiling point, because on that day, 19-year-old Dick Rowland, a shoe shiner employed at the Main Street Shine Parlor, entered the only elevator that was available at the nearby Drexel building, which was located at 319 South Main Street. He went there to use the top floor restroom. The only problem, Rowland was black, and that restroom was not available to black people. But this wouldn't be his only issue that day. When he got to the elevator, he encountered Sarah Page, a 17-year-old white elevator operator who was on duty. And if you know anything about history, a black man and a white woman together at that time could equal disaster. At some point, a clerk at a clothing store named Renberg's heard a scream from the elevator and saw Rowland running out. When he went over to Page, her dress was torn, and thinking she had been assaulted, he called the authorities. It's not known exactly what happened, but one explanation states that Rowland had tripped as he got into the elevator, and in trying to catch his fall, grabbed onto Page and accidentally ripped her dress. Despite that, Rowland was terrified, and he had every reason to be. As I mentioned earlier, Greenwood was only 2 blocks away from the white areas of Tulsa. That next morning, Henry Carmichael, a white detective, and Henry C. Pack, a black patrolman, arrested Rowland. Tensions were already rising high. They will rise even higher when the Tulsa Tribune, one of 2 white-owned newspapers published in Tulsa, broke the story with a headline that read, "Nabbed Negro for attacking girl in the elevator." Now this story went out at 3 p.m. that day. Shortly after that, there was talk of a potential lynching. At 7:30 p.m. that day, several hundred white residents assembled outside the courthouse. In response to this, some of Greenwood's residents armed themselves and went to the courthouse in order to protect Rowland. This caused the more than 1,000 whites who were already at the courthouse to go back home and grab their guns. The tensions kept escalating and escalating until at some point, shot went off, and all hell began to break loose. That night, there were shootouts on both sides, and by early in the morning, June 1st, the fire started. Some of the residents did what they could to defend themselves. Others fled to avoid the violence. By 4 a.m., it's said that about 24 black-owned businesses had been set on fire. An hour later, the violence continued. Shootings, fires, until eventually, all the black residents began to retreat from Greenwood. And as the residents fled, the white rioters went on a rampage, looting businesses, destroying buildings. I mean, it's even said that airplanes were carrying white assailants who were firing rifles and dropping firebombs on buildings and the fleeing families. The district, which once stood as a beacon for black success, was no more. It's estimated that, according to today's numbers, the rioters caused about $33 million worth of damage. And what's crazy is the white rioters did all this because of the accusations against Dick Rowland, who, months later, had his case dismissed. But luckily in the fire, not everything was destroyed. Vernon AME Church is the only building from that time that's left standing today. And just like that church, the memory of Black Wall Street still lives on.